Today we're going to study about the faith in the Old Testament. Is the Old Testament different from the faith of the New Testament? We are focusing on Galatians, and let us begin with a promise from Galatians. The promise to Abraham. Okay. Now, what was the promise to Abraham? That God called Abraham to leave the city in order for him to worship the one true God, because he's worshiping in an idolatrous nation, or nations with so many gods. And so God called him, and God made a promise. Now remember, it was God's initiative all the way from the calling. Who called Abraham? Did Abraham call himself to be in God? No. God called him. So the action was coming from God. And then when God called him, God promised. Did Abraham made a promise to himself or to God? No. Who made the initiative again? Twice already. It was God. So God called him, and God made him a promise that, in his old age, he will become a nation, a father of so many great nations. Like his descendants will be the stars of the sea. And he cannot believe it. Said, I'm old. My wife is old. It's like talking to a very old couple, and he will promise them, you'll have great children. Wow, that's something. So the progress is that Abraham was called by God, and Abraham was given a promise by God. Now, in this concept, the story of Abraham. This concept teaches us today that indeed Abraham was not justified by obeying, because that was the misunderstanding. They think that by obedience to the law of God, the Ten Commandments, the moral law, they will be saved. That's the misunderstanding during the time of Abraham, or during the time of the Old Testament, I should say. And so this obedience is not bad. Obedience is necessary and essential. But this obedience led them to add to the justification of God their own works, or they wanted to be justified by their own merit. Like, they do this because they would like to be saved. You got it? But the concept that God taught Abraham was, Abraham, I did everything that I can. What you did was just to respond. And your response is not even enough for you to be saved. It was all God's initiative. Remember? So this is the concept that Paul was trying to teach the Jews of his time. Just after the ascension of Jesus Christ, he was trying to teach them, hey, you Jewish, you profess to follow Jesus, but you wanted to impose on people like circumcision, like keeping of the commandments, to those Gentiles who have a different reception, I should say, to the Jewish teaching. So this is what Paul was attacking. All right, Paul was attacking that salvation is not by works. That we are not justified, just like Abraham or David. We are not justified because of what we have done, our obedience. All right. So that justification is always. It begins always when Christ sacrificed himself. In our lesson, there was a story of a boy who made this boat, and when he played with his boat, his boat got lost somewhere when he played, and he had a hard time looking for his boat. He made it, and then one day he was looking around for a replacement of his boat, and in one shop he saw the exact same boat that he made. It's, hey, I made that. And the owner said, no, you can't have that. You have to pay if you want it back. So the boy decided to save some money in order for him to, you just imagine the feeling of a boy. He made that one. He knows it was very clear. It was very. It's obvious that it was his, but you know it was in the shop. So he saved some money. He worked hard, and then at the time when when he had enough, he bought it. So he did it twice. He made it, that boat, and he bought that boat. In essence, it's the concept of redemption. Redemption is a marketplace word. You know, I remember in the Philippines before, when you have something you want to redeem, a product, you redeem it by your ticket, or you redeem it by winning a combination or something. Redemption is a marketplace language word. It means you give something so that someone or something will be given to you. Now the concept is that we are all slaves to sin. We're captives of sin, Satan. Satan made us hostage, and then God has to come in and pay the price in order for us to be redeemed, or to be saved or rescued. So that's the concept. So what was the price that God paid? His Son, Jesus Christ. And so, do we have any merit on our own salvation?